and myself a lot of frustration and a lot of time. I don't know, I don't think that was a very wise way to treat me. And every time I appealed to ask for more information, up to last Friday, I spent all day yesterday morning gathering information. And my husband grew up in Minneapolis. I mean, we love this city. I'm not out to get the city. I'm really not. I just wanted to get my bills paid. So,
okay. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
I don't know.
As to the issue of negligence, not on to the issue of process, but on the issue of negligence?
On the issue of negligence,
that's what we have to determine.
Is that the sidewalk, well, I showed you that picture. After I said something, they came and it's not, I am surprised after 10 years that sidewalk had not been inspected, because this is not the only place that sidewalk was repaired. That up and down that whole block, that sidewalk had pieces like this. And so then they finally, I just took pictures of where I was, where they repaired it, where they put in the asphalt, but they obviously had a problem there. And if they waited 10 years to look at it, because the entire block was fixed, because there were a lot of places. So obviously it was not in repair, and obviously nobody had been looking at it. If they said they hadn't inspected it for 10 years, I don't know what the program is, but I would think that things have to be looked at more than once every 10 years.
No, and they didn't even replace it. They just patched it because they're not that far in the process to have them all done. So I wouldn't call that a fixing it. I would call that a patch or repairing it.
Right.
It is somewhat perplexing that outside a church and a daycare, not one other person has had an issue or called us about it. We like to go out and fix them when we know about it. We're happy to do that work.
Yeah, I just think that it's wrong to treat your citizens in a way of total frustration of a whole year. Keep asking them. They kept asking me for my medical claims. And if they didn't have prior knowledge, and there's a state statute of prior knowledge, that should have been stated to me in November.
Well, we'll ask them about that. Thank you for your testimony. So who is here to speak on behalf of staff? Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. Mike Kennedy, Transportation Maintenance and Repair for Public Works. The city's responsibility in the sidewalks, generally speaking, the property owners, the abutting property owners own the sidewalks, and they are responsible for the ultimate care and maintenance of those sidewalks. The city's procedures and policy is that we have a sidewalk inspections division that enforces summer repairs, summer repair program, and a winter enforcement of the snow shoveling ordinance. Our procedure is that roughly we have a sidewalk inspections division that has 3 inspectors. Roughly every 10 to 15 years, we go through the city to try to inspect. We have 2,000 miles of public sidewalk in the city, and it takes a while to get through those. But our rotation is about every 10 to 15 years, roughly, depending on conditions and how fast we can go each year and how much we can get done. And we issue repair orders to the abutting property owners. We inspect them, issue repair orders. They have the opportunity to either fix them themselves or allow us to come and fix them using city contractors, and we get that done. We can only be aware of certain of that 2,000 miles of sidewalk. There's only so much we can be aware of. The other thing that we do is we will respond to complaints. And I'm also a bit surprised that with that much foot traffic, nobody ever called with conditions like that. We have huge trees, even the sidewalks up with large strips. Whenever we do get a complaint, we will go and perform what we call a temporary repair, as you refer to a patch. We don't consider those permanent repairs. That's just a temporary in order to last, to keep it passable until we can come through with the full program and make the permanent repairs of the sidewalk slab replacements. Or if we get notice of a trip and fall, we will go out and take the same steps. And typically when they go out there, they'll look and they'll take care of the immediate issue, but they will look up and down the sidewalk, up and down the block, and if they see other problems, while they're there, they will make some quick temporary repairs as well. So that is our procedure. That is what was followed to the best of my knowledge, and that's where we stand today.
Are there any questions for Mr. Kennedy with regard to our processes? Okay, seeing none, thank you for that explanation. Perhaps someone from claims can just speak to why we ask for so much information. And maybe you can speak to whether or not sometimes you make an offer potentially that might be less than the claimed amount. And did that happen here?
That there was further discussion, yes.
Was there further discussion, and did the staff make an offer that was accepted or rejected?
My name is Ellen Velasco Thompson. I'm Director of Risk Management and Claims. Madam Chair, council members, what we are responsible to do on any type of a claim, and I apologize for the frustration that you have. There are certain things that I can say, and there's certain things that I can't, because this is a process, and we have to treat everybody the same. If you go back to your original claim form, Ms. Jorvik, you basically stated for compensation requested that the payment for expenses related to the treatment of my injuries. I understand what you mean, but in this kind of a setting, we really need the dollar amount. And if you remember, at the time that you showed up at staff claims, you were still having lots of work happening. And so we went and actually requested formally from the dentist what was paid, what they thought was going to be the future expenses to take care of your entire claim, and we come up with a dollar amount. It was very clear to us that it was not matching up with what you were stating, and so that's why there was clarification requested by Mr. Rogers regarding how much were they billing you, how much was covered by insurance, how much were you asked to pay for. And so all the way up until October 6th, we finally do now have formal statements regarding how much was paid by the claimant, how much is actually paid by insurance, and how much she is outstanding and still unpaid at your dentist. The conversation that you had with Mr. Rogers was directed by me last week. And the major question that we have here, because you were the first notice regarding the fall on that particular part of the sidewalk. And when I looked at the pictures, I could see where there was a tree that was actually probably pushing up a little bit on the sidewalk. But I have to follow city processes regarding when they actually inspect the sidewalk and what I have for a recommendation. And we go back into the whole city record to see if there's anybody else who has filed any type of a complaint in that general area regarding the sidewalk. So we're busy doing that. What I asked Mr. Rogers to do last week was to ask you if you felt there was any percentage of fault that you had in this, or whether you feel it's totally up to the city and that the city is 100% responsible for your fall. And that was the question that was asked. Now, I understand that there was probably an awful lot going on at your household at that time, and we never really got to that question. But it appeared to me, once the feedback came back to me from Mr. Rogers, that you are on a course, you've sought feedback from representation, and that you know what you want to achieve at this point. So there was never any discussion that I know of a further amount.
Okay.
So
I appreciate that explanation, especially the explanation with regards to why it took so long to get the full accounting of what the costs were based on this terrible accident.
And so just to clarify for the council's understanding, it is not until Tuesday, October 6th that I actually have the final amount about how much has been paid for insurance, how much has been paid by the claimant, and the outstanding amount that has not been paid, including her out-of-pocket and what is still owing to the several vendors that she has been working with, is $16,514.20. So we finally have that amount.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions for Ellen? Seeing none, I'll just invite you to come up and see if you have anything. Wait till you get to the microphones, just for the record.
When he really caught me off guard when he called me at 4:00 on Friday afternoon. I'd had a long day. I was watching my grandson. He was running in the house, and And I don't think he meant to, but he just kept asking me questions, and I felt like I was almost being on trial. And I thought we were going to discuss all this today. So I guess maybe I got a little nervous when I was talking to him on the phone because I couldn't understand what he wanted because I had already sent all those numbers. But I think what happened is that some of it in March were estimates because the work wasn't finished. Now the work is finished. And so, so the numbers I gave you yesterday morning are the correct numbers.
Okay, so
And I have paid, I don't know, over little, so far I have it down there, probably a little over $3,000 out of pocket. I felt like I have to get these done as something if this was going on for so long. And so I've done a part out of pocket, and I guess I'm just hoping that the city will do something in this matter.
So I guess the question is, are you at this point open to talking to staff about a settlement? We're not going to settle with you as a panel.
Right.
We're not going to be discussing it. You can probably take a guess at what direction this panel would go in if we had to decide yes or no. So here's some advice to you. Should you choose to negotiate with staff, we can move this forward without recommendation. You can negotiate to staff and they can bring it back to the full council. If you'd like us just to decide right now,
I would choose to negotiate with
Right,
them.
I'm gonna- very good.
I know they have, my husband's an insurance adjuster, so I know their hard job, and I know that I know this hasn't been easy for them. And I even had said to Rico yesterday morning, I'm sorry if I was short on Friday. It was just a kind of
okay.
a hard day.
But it sounds
So-
like there's some agreement that there is some number between 0 and 16,000. We're not going to accept any liability or negotiate that number with you, but that might be something that the city attorney and Rico and Ellen would be willing to do. And if you are open to that, we have, are we taking this up on Friday, ladies? I guess you have to do that quick because
I
today.
would be open to that.
So perhaps right after this meeting, we have one more issue. Is that all right? Mr. Skarda, do you want to speak with them today if we move this forward without recommendation?
I can, or I have discussed it with Rico previously, so I think he could probably meet with her right now.
Okay, so I think that then, because we have the council meeting on Friday, and we probably would like for their sense, because it's been going on so long, if we could try to do this today or tomorrow, could be approved by the council on Friday. Or you can have us just rule right now.
I guess I should speak with them and see, does that
Okay.
sound like what, I thank you for that.
Okay.
That's what-
All right, so Councilmember Wright, thank you.
I think I see where this is going, and I'm going to move without recommendation.
Okay, so Councilmember Reich has a motion to move this forward without recommendation, making the suggestion that the applicant sit down with staff and negotiate a settlement. Should it come back to us without a settlement, we'll have to make a decision at the full council meeting. Okay, on the motion by Councilmember Reich, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That item is resolved for now. We'll then move on to item number 5. This is Mr. Kutzler. Did I get that right? Great. Mr. Skarda.
Mr. Kutzler is making a claim with a date of loss of February 23rd, 2015 related to sidewalk damage. He filed, the claim relates back to 2009 when city contractors replaced and installed sidewalk panels at the claimant's residence. The claimant indicates that the concrete was poorly installed and a spalling issue exists on the sidewalk and other properties in the location of 1418 Adams Street Northeast. The investigator contacted Public Works, and the 2-year warranty period for the concrete under the installation contract had expired by the time the claimant brought forth his claim. Additionally, the sidewalk was inspected, and even though there was spalling, it wasn't. The determination was that it hadn't risen to the level where it constituted a dangerous condition that required replacement. And the Staff Claims Committee recommended denial of this claim.
Mr. Skarda, did the city do this work?
The city did not do this work. It was one of the contractors that, when sidewalk work is ordered, they give the the property owner is giving a list of contractors that can do the work, or they can contract to have the work done
So
themselves.
why wasn't this taken up with the contractor?
They provide a 2-year warranty on the work when it's completed, and this claim arose after the 2-year warranty period had expired.
Got it. Okay. Mr. Kutzler, you have a pretty high hill to climb here. You need to tell us how the city, who wasn't the contractor here after the warranty period, was negligent.
Well, I had complained to the city about 3 panels, of which 2 they replaced in 2012. It probably then was within that time frame of the warranty. This is what they replaced. And you can see that that is normal concrete. What is happening since then, the 3rd panel that was not replaced looks like this.
Now, my driveway looks just like that.
I have replaced about 25% of my concrete driveway coming from the street into my garage because of the fact that the aggregate beneath the surface of the concrete was missing. And that created problems with the rock sticking out. I've had family members trip on this aggregate, and that's the end result of what this will look like in years to come. I felt the city is responsible because they hired the subcontractors, and therefore are responsible for taking care of the product. It wasn't just me. I wouldn't, this is probably a $300 issue, and I'm certainly capable of taking care of that. But this is just mine. I've documented 92 properties in the Northeast area that these subcontractors put in this concrete between 2009 and 2011. It all looks like that. In some cases, even worse. So there's a precedent here that the contractors whom the city contracted with are negligent for the kind of concrete they put in. It was improperly put in. It's improper product. And I know the Public Works is going to come up here and say, well, we did it according to standards. Well, the standard is, regardless of what the standard is, the end of the day, it looks like this. That is what's happened since 2012 to today. So I know it's going to continue. Otherwise, the city would have replaced it in 2012 when they replaced the other 2, which looks like that. So I think somebody is responsible here throughout the whole Northeast area, but I'm just looking at my own property.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Kennedy?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Mike Kennedy, Public Works. As I described earlier, our condemnation program, what we do is we give property owners the opportunity to, we tell them what needs to be fixed. They can talk with us about that, and we can come to some resolution of what needs to be fixed. They can either do it themselves with a licensed bonded contractor, or they can elect to have the city do the work, and we do the work by hiring a contractor to do it each year. We can do it that way. The property owners have a huge advantage of having a large economy of scale and get very good prices, good competitive prices for doing the work. And most people take us up on that. Our standard specifications for work in the public right-of-way call for a 2-year warranty, and that's what the contractors work under. So that's the level of their responsibility. It's interesting you said that's what my driveway looks like. That's what my neighbor's driveway looks like in Plymouth, and it went in about the same time. This kind of happens sometimes in the industry. The problem that is talked about here is not something that would cause us to recondemn those sidewalks. They're not defective. They're not nice looking, but they're not defective. We don't believe that they are continuing to get worse. And if you look at the sidewalks up and down that block, there are a lot of them, panels that look like that were not condemned this time around. So we followed our procedures. The property owner's issue really is with the contractor. The warranty expired. And
Yeah, the exact same thing happened to me. I had my concrete driveway done in 2012, It looks like that. The 2-year warranty period was over. I then didn't go back to the general contractor and try to sue them for the work of the subcontractor because it looks like that. I agree it looks terrible, but it's not dangerous. I don't like the way it looks.
Yeah. My neighbor's not happy, but he's not.
And concrete's expensive, so it's annoying when it's a huge driveway. Are there any questions for Mr. Kennedy? Councilmember Quincy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a question about the warranty period. Should that be extended? Should we be negotiating that in our subcontractor agreements?
Madam Chair, Councilmember Quincy, anybody can get any kind of warranty they want. You're going to pay for a longer warranty. If people want to do their own work and hire their own contractors and get a 4, 5, 10-year warranty, they can do that, but they'll pay for that just like anything else. It is our standard specifications for construction that have that warranty period spelled out in it that we hold them liable to when we issue a contract. We could call for longer warranty periods, but that would just increase the cost to the residents.
Councilmember Reich. Did you have a question for Mr. Kennedy?
Maybe more of a comment
Okay.
and see if it's consistent with Public Works' understanding of the matter.
Please do.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so, and this maybe go to our last item on the agenda, but there's questions can be raised about our policies, our budgetary priorities. Heck, I've even had long conversations with Mr. Matsumoto, an expert on concrete and how it gets made due to this. This format really doesn't allow us to get into any outcome that would be policy, budget, or technically driven. And that's kind of one of the unfortunate things here. Interesting questions have been raised. I think these are policy questions, budgetary questions, and to a certain extent, technical questions with the background that if we don't have a safety issue, we don't have a structural issue, is there some other standard that we should be applying vis-a-vis policy? It doesn't exist right now, though. So that's a policy question. With that, I'm going to move denial because we need to put this into the policy budgetary form where it belongs.
Further comments or questions for Mr. Kennedy or the applicant? Seeing none on Councilmember Reich's motion to deny the appeal, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That item has been denied. It sounds like there'll be some sort of policy discussion about it potentially in Public Works. We'll move on to the receive and file item, which is the tort claim summary report. Are there any questions with regard to the report? Seeing none, I'm going to move to receive and file it. I'll note to members of the committee that I do, as the chair, get the report every month and read it. So you are welcome to get it and read it as well if you'd like to. And then we'll move on to our last item, which is item number 7, the Claims Committee Right of Appeal Process Resolution. Ellen.
Ellen Velasco Thompson, Director of Risk Management and Claims for the City of Minneapolis. Madam Chair, council members, we're here regarding the resolution of the city that was established back in 1997 for the creation of this Council Claims Committee as well as staff claims. And the resolution itself, in summary, basically streamlines the process. We have given information to the council chair in our agenda setting regarding the number of appeals, how many claims actually go on to district court and to conciliation court, which is very, very few from this committee, as well as when they decide not to go through council claims and go directly to district court. There's very, very few. At that phase, we pretty much turn it over to the city attorneys who represents the city regarding the final outcome of those appeals. We are recommending here today that we dissolve city council claims appeal process, so you will no longer have claimants come before you once, twice, how many ever times per year to actually have their claims reviewed. We would just educate people that they would go directly to district court of some form or manner if they wish to appeal. It is also resolved too that the risk management area would present to council claims at your desire any policies, procedures, or practices that may reduce liability in how we go about doing business. That's all I have to say. I'd be happy to take any questions from council members.
Thank you. So members of the committee are aware that we have been discussing this since the beginning of the organization, and in fact discussed it for 4 years last year too, and never really pulled the trigger. I do want to note, and I'm interested in what people have to say. If there is like a majority opinion on this committee that we should continue to do this twice a year, I'm happy to be Judge Judy. But I really feel after doing this now for 12 years, I've served on this committee for 12 years, I've chaired it all of that time. I just question whether or not this is the best way for people's issue to be adjudicated. But if people want to continue to do it because we see areas where we think we can make changes in policy and you think it's valid, I am absolutely open to it. We've had really good attendance. I think the strategy of putting senior members of the council on it was a very good strategy. I think people are very thoughtful about it and we've had good attendance. I will note, because of the rules process, we are not eliminating the committee. We are simply eliminating the process by which the claims come to us. The committee would be a committee that would be called at the discretion of the chair at the request of finance and risk management, and maybe it'd be once a year or something like that. So, but I am, I'm happy to do this if you guys want to do it, and I will not be insulted at all if you say you don't. I think that's why we brought it to you, to kind of have a discussion about it. And so I'm very interested in what folks have to say. So we'll have Councilmember Glidden followed by Councilmember Gordon.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Well, I think this is absolutely the right thing to do. I really feel that these procedures that have the council in kind of this appeals court role sometimes are just really not the best way to respectfully and responsibly deal with claims and important liability issues that residents have before us. We meet only twice a year. We have to remind ourselves and make sure we're re-educated on the burden of proof, and that we're using all the proper procedures, because it is very different from the role we normally serve in, where we are legislators. And when we're legislators, we are not bound by certain confines of the law and how we need to consider issues. We just give an opinion one way or another and vote one way or another, but this is a very different process. So I'm happy actually to move approval, just to move this along, and I very much support this as the responsible thing to do.
Councilmember Gordon.
I know we've talked about this for a long time, and I think it's fine and it's appropriate. I wasn't sure that the Claims Committee would even keep it in existence. And maybe if we say we'll keep it in existence to advise the department for a few years, we may find that that's not necessary either. But I guess I see this as a nice way to phase into that, because it's almost like a legal, the attorney's office could have oversight, and then whatever committee oversees the attorney's office. I'm not sure where it could go without the Claims Committee, but however, that said, the fact that we had this committee gave me the only opportunity to interact with some of these staff and be aware of all this good work that's going on that. So I'll miss some of that, and the 4 times we got to meet like this, but no, I won't miss it that much.
I'll note that this committee only came into existence 5 months before Council President Johnson and I were elected. The statute is here, and that's one of the reasons we're talking about keeping the committee in operation till the end of this term, so that we don't need to go through the process with the clerk's department of eliminating the committee, because it opens up the issue of rules. Just so you know, that was part of the reason too. Also, I talk to and meet with the folks in claims quite a bit. You'd be surprised. I mean, they're sending me monthly reports. I ask a number of questions. There is a level of interest, and perhaps you could send the report to all the members of the committee, and you can see what's happening. And one of the things that's happening is we're getting a lot less claims. That's probably one of the reasons we're getting a lot less appeals. I mean, I don't know how many of you remember, we've had like 18 appeals and we met 4 times a year. And now we're meeting twice a year and we have 6 to 10, and sometimes people don't even come. So I appreciate the feedback. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm just going to echo Councilmember Gordon and our staff to thank them about how carefully they document these particular issues, which are frequently kind of the same sort of issues. And the work that you do makes it gives us a great deal of confidence that the decisions that we make are legitimate and good decisions. So I too will miss the good work of the claims staff.
So I think what we'll do is we will take up Council Vice President Glidden's motion, and then it looks like we might want to come back and, did you work out the problem? Then we're going to hear that resolution and approve it or not, and then adjourn. Is that okay with everyone, since the applicant's still here? Okay, on Council President Glidden's motion to approve the staff recommendation, and I'm going to add as a friendly amendment to send it to Ways and Means, or refer to Ways and Means as requested by the Chair of Ways and Means and the clerk. On the motion to approve, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That item is approved. You feel sad now, Ellen?
Madam Chair, council members, I know that with your staff, we've had conversations to clarify individual claims that have come to your attention. We will continue doing that to provide you status as well as where things are going and why. So we will not be missing long.
Yeah. Thank you. And we'll take up Rico's. Did you want to come forward, sir?
Madam Chair, council members, Rico Rogers, Tort Claims Coordinator. We did reach a settlement of $8,257.10. So 50% of the outstanding balance and out of pocket.
Okay. Are there questions for Mr. Rogers or the applicant with regard to that settlement? I will consider this the staff recommendation. I do want to make one more comment after that. On the motion, I'll make the motion to approve the staff recommendation of the settlement. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. I also just lastly, I've worked with Ellen for many, many years, but I've also worked with Rico for, I don't know, how long have you been here now? Weren't you an intern initially? And how many years have you been there? And you've learned this business and you've had a really good job at the city as a result of it. And I just am so proud of you after watching you for all this time and under Ellen's leadership really rise to this level. It is extremely impressive. You are an absolute delight to work with, as is Mr. Scarda, who has not been our lawyer for the entire time, but a good amount of the time. And of course, Ellen, our favorite person in finance. So I just want to thank you all. You guys have been really great to deal with, but I just have to point out, Rico, you are like the success story of the city and in someone who came in and worked their way up in an area you never thought you were ever going to work in. And you've done an amazing job. And we look forward to working with you in whatever role we have with you going forward too. Seeing no further business before the Claims Committee, we are adjourned.